So most Macs sold today are MacBooks, and even some of the desktop Macs sold today are sold with trackpads rather than a mouse. So that means most Mac users have access to a trackpad. And you may think you know lots of really cool keyboard shortcuts, but there are actually some great trackpad shortcuts as well. You just may not be using them. You can see all of the different ways you can use your trackpad by going to System Preferences, Trackpad, and then there are 3 different categories of gestures. And you may have some of them down already. Like for instance, to get a secondary click, like a control click, you just use 2 fingers clicking instead of 1 finger clicking. Now there are some great ones though that a lot of people just don't use at all. So let's take a look at those. So you've got the Smart Zoom, which is double tap with 2 fingers. So you may know how to pinch out, kind of like you do on an iPhone or iPad screen. But Smart Zoom is really interesting. If we go to Safari here, and if you want to zoom in on an element, you can do the gesture, the tap with 2 fingers, double tap with 2 fingers. Let's try it right here. Say I want to read this section. I double tap with 2 fingers and it zooms in on this text. Double tap again with 2 fingers and it zooms back out. If you want to see this picture, double tap, double tap. 2 finger double tap zooms in an intelligent kind of way. And it's easy to zoom in and zoom out. Rotating is another one you may not use very much. So it's really cool. You go into Preview, for instance, and here I am just viewing something in Preview like normal. I'm going to use my thumb and my index finger to move with the trackpad. Now it doesn't do much here except move 90 degrees. But you can use it other places as well. So for instance the Photos app, if I go to Edit and then I go to Crop, which is where you would rotate an image, I can use 2 fingers and I can actually control the rotation there. So I can actually use this interface, click and drag, but here I just used my thumb and index finger and I can rotate. So there are a lot of situations, and maybe if you use graphic design software it may work in that as well. Let's look at some more gestures you may not be using. So you may already know to swipe between pages or full screen apps you can do it with 2 or 4 fingers left or right. But you can bring up Notification Center. A lot of people ask is there a cool keyboard shortcut for Notification Center? And there isn't, but there's a great way to be able to just bring it up with the trackpad. Just swipe from the right side of the trackpad just a little bit to the left and it brings it in. And then you could use the same thing just on the right side, swipe left to bring it in, swipe right to bring it out. Really cool. And Mission Control, you can also bring that up. Instead of the keyboard shortcut you can use either 4 fingers or 3 fingers, whichever one you want, and you can swipe up with 4 fingers to go to Mission Control, and the Expose, which is like the app version of Mission Control, you can do that with down, and that brings together all the windows from the current app you're using. Also Launchpad can be brought up by pinching with thumb and 3 fingers, so you're pretty much almost using your entire hand, and you bring it in and you get Launchpad, and back out again and Launchpad goes away. And you can also show desktop spreading out with 3 fingers and your thumb. So like this. And this is useful because if you've got stuff on your desktop, files and folders and such, it's really easy to just clear away the windows for a second so you can grab one. So take a look at these gestures in here. Trackpad is a great tool, but you got to know what the commands are and you got to know how to use it. I would suggest if you don't use a lot of these, maybe just pick one and try to get used to it, and then after you kind of work that into your regular workflow, pick another one and also adopt that gesture.